Welcome to today's Google Classroom webinar. Portions of this webinar were taken from a previous recording of the Google Classroom webinar. This webinar is being brought to you as part of the Clark County School District's Blend Ed initiative. So the district's Blend Ed initiative, this is a collaborative effort between various branches of the Instructional Design and Professional Learning Division. There's the Online and Blended Learning Department, the Professional Development Education Department, the Tech Integration Department, and the Nevada Ready 21 program. And so we're working across the district with multiple entities to try to get online and blended learning into more and more of our classrooms. And that's really our goal there, is to have more digital learning. Now, when we're talking about blend ed and digital learning, we're looking at combining the best elements of face-to-face instruction with the best elements of online and digital learning. So we're not talking about blended education. Instead, in our district, we're talking about blend ed. A very nuanced difference there, but it's important. Now, in the district's blend ed initiative, we're looking at three important elements that we like to call the CIA of learning. And this applies not just to blended learning or blend ed, digital learning, but it applies to all learning. You're always looking at the curriculum, the instruction, and the assessment. In this case, we focus on the digital curriculum, the guided instruction, and having that authentic assessment. So all classrooms always have been and should always be designed on this curriculum, instruction, and assessment, and the relationship between those. That's important because you can't do any one of them without the other. And so there should be that equal balance in every classroom. In the blend ed classroom, it does look a little bit different because it is a mixture of face-to-face instruction and digital content. A lot of you are probably already using an element of digital curriculum in your classroom. And if you're doing so, then you're on your way to that blend ed learning environment. Imagine, if you will, a triple Venn diagram. Each and every day we're somewhere within that Venn diagram. Some days we're more involved with content, and other days we're more involved with instruction. But the spot that we're aiming for is where the three meet, where the three converge. With today talking about using Google Classroom, we're actually are looking a lot with the digital curriculum and with the authentic assessment. It's a curriculum. It's a tool to deploy content to your students, and also to have that authentic, formative, and summative assessment to be able to see if the students are learning what they're supposed to be learning. So next up, I want you to open up a browser window and join our classroom. To do so, go to the website you see on the screen. It's https://classroom.google.com. If you just type into your browser window Google Classroom, it'll take you there. It says get started using Classroom. When you get there, you will choose that you are a teacher. Even though you'll be a student in my class for this webinar, you are a teacher. And then you'll click the plus sign in the upper right hand corner to enter this code. So if we go to classroom.google.com, I'm already here. You'll click on the plus sign to create or join a class. You will join a class, and the code that you're going to put in is this one that you see on the screen. The question came up as to how do you log into your Google account. Your credentials are your AD, your Active Directory that you use to log into your computer every morning at work. So your AD, then the @ sign, nv.ccsd.net. Okay, so go to classroom.google, then click on the plus sign in the upper right hand corner and enter this code. So Sarima, to be able to enter it, you have to click on the plus sign. It won't, and put the code in. It's not going to give you the class before putting the plus sign in. If you've never created a classroom, when you click on the plus sign, you will not have the option to create. You'll only have the option to join. And so you'll need to join the teacher classroom group in order to be able to create your own classrooms to use with your students. And so here's the directions for that. In fact, it would probably help if everyone did this if you've never done it before. You go in your web browser, go to groups.google.com. Make sure you log into your NVCCSD account, your CCSD Google account, which is again your Active Directory, your AD at nv.ccsd.net. Your password, by the way, is the same password that you use to log into your computer every morning at work. And you'll search for the Classroom Teachers group, which is classroom_teachers at nv.ccsd.net. And it'll tell you that you're a member or that you can request permission. And so you'll need to request permission to join the group. And until that permission has been granted, you will not be able to create your classrooms. Okay, so that's a step that you can go back and work on if you're unable to create your classroom. Okay, there are detailed instructions. You see a bit.ly there at the bottom of the page. That will give you instructions for getting into the Google Classroom Teachers group. So if you're unable to get to log in and to create a class, if you write down that bit.ly, you can access it later and pull up a document that will walk you through step by step in a little bit more detail how to do that. Okay, creating a class. And I'm going to get out of this and do an app share to walk you through it. In Google Classroom, to create a class, you can see up here in the right hand corner I have my name, my email address, and I have my plus sign. When I hover over it, it says to create or join a class. And so I'm going to click on it, and I see the join class option, which is what I showed you before, to type in the class code to join a class that somebody else has created. Or if I click on the plus sign and click create class, it'll allow me to create a brand new class. Again, if you don't have that option, it means you need to join that Classroom Teachers group I was talking about just a moment ago. So I'm going to create a class. I have to give it a name. I'm just going to call this one test class for purposes of what we're doing today. And I like to number mine, so section 001. And I'm going to name it professional development. I'll hit create. It's creating my test class. So now I have a brand new class with no students. Now, with first thing when you get into a class, you see an image at the top. You see the title of the class, test class 01. You see my name as the instructor. Make that a little bit bigger for you. That's probably too big. And I see a background image, and this is the theme of this class. And this theme, it can be changed at any time. If I'm on the right hand side here, I can click select theme, and I can select one of the defaults that they have that are available. Some of these have some motion to them and can be a little bit of fun. If I was teaching a music class, I'd definitely pick something like that. Civics or government class, I might pick the flag. If I was teaching anatomy or some sort of science class, I would want my theme to match the content of my class. Definitely, I taught literature, so here's some books. Okay, so personalize your class and give the look and feel that you want. Now, about 6 months ago, Paul showed me a new trick, and so I'm going to let everybody else in on that secret. You can actually upload, when you're creating this class, you can upload an animated GIF file to make it move a little bit and to personalize it a little bit. And so I'm going to, instead of clicking select theme, I'm going to upload a photo. And I'll want to drag a photo into there. Now I can drag a regular photo, and that's fine. And it will be a still image, and I can use that. Or I can download an animated GIF, and I've already put some together here. I'm going to pick this GIF that I called Luke, I Am Your Father. I'm a big Star Wars fan. And so I created this animated GIF with one of my favorite scenes from the Star Wars series, and I can position it exactly where I want it and set that as my class theme. And it's just a fun thing to do to personalize your class. And so you can see that on there now. I've got Darth Vader and Luke with the "I am your father" scene, and then that's my background for my class to set that tone. And you can change that throughout the year. Again, teaching literature, I'd probably do change it every time I was teaching a different novel, a different short story, just to set the tone for the class. Um, there's a great Chrome extension called GIFIT or GIFIT, and that you can use with YouTube, and then you can take 5-second video clips out of YouTube and have turn them into this repeating GIF, animated GIF. And that's how I created this little clip here. You can notice it's just the same 3 or 5 seconds that are repeating over and over, and it makes it fun, and it makes it fun for the kids. So content-wise, pedagogy-wise, that really makes zero impact, but something about engaging the kids and having things be fun for them. Okay, so I've created my class, I've named it, I've designated the subject, and I've changed the theme. The next step is to add students to your class. Now you see here I've got 3 in my class, my test class here. I've got 3 items. There's the stream, students, and about. If I click on students, it gives me the options, several options. The first option is I can give students a class code. And that was what I gave you to join our class at the very beginning. In this case, this code would be KKMOIU. If I don't like that code, I can reset it and it'll make it something different. Sometimes you want to be careful with the class codes. It's just a random assortment of letters and sometimes even numbers. So you want to make sure that the code doesn't accidentally put something in there that might possibly be inappropriate. I've not seen it, but I'm trying to be preemptive here and make you aware that you should look at the class code before you go and post it for everybody. So you can invite students that way. Option 2, if you click on invite students here, you can invite students through email. So I can type into students' emails. I'm putting mine in here, but you can type in students' emails and directly invite them that way. That's probably not as effective as just having your kids in a lab and say, okay, right now everybody join the class, and give them the class code, and then you go in and change the class code after everybody's in, so they can't give it to their friends and have their friends join that aren't members of the class. Much like we used to do with Edmodo, if you used Edmodo before. Okay, so that's the second step, is to add students to your class. This third tab, if you will, up at the top is the About page. And the About page can be used for adding resources. Okay, now I'm going to switch classes here. I'm going to get out of this test class because there's no content in it, and I'm going to go into the class that I created for this webinar, the Google Classroom class, and look at the About page. Okay, at the top I have the title, and I can add a description and any other information I want. It tells me where my Google Drive folder is, because for every class you create, there is a Google Drive folder for that class. Now, I'm telling you where it is with the caveat that you need to leave it alone. There's anything you need to do with your Google Drive folder can be done inside a classroom. When we start going into the classroom folder in your Google Drive, that's the only folder in Google Drive that you should probably never touch, because you can mess things up and move things around and make it so that the workflow doesn't happen like it should. So that classroom folder you create in Google Drive is the one folder in your Google Drive that I strongly encourage you to leave alone and to not mess with. Okay, but here I have the option to add some class materials. Now this About tab is a great place to add materials that you want students to have access to all the time. It's, I would put my course expectations in there and some other resources that students would need to refer to on a regular basis. Because we're doing a webinar on Google Classroom, I've posted some resources here on help with Google Classroom. Something from Pinterest on Google Classroom. 60 smarter ways to use Google Classroom. Alice Keeler is I call her the Google guru. She knows more about how to use Google in education than anyone else that I follow. And so a link to her website, because it is full of ideas for using Google Classroom and other information related to Google, and a YouTube video that tells you how to create those animated GIFs for the theme of your Google Classroom. That can be helpful. And then, so those are some resources, and I also attached directions that you may need. Jen was asking for the link to joining the Google Classroom. Here's a link to the doc that would help you with that. If you need to help your students get their Google accounts, there's a couple of documents pertaining to elementary schools and secondary schools for how you would pull their login information and passwords to give to them. And at the very bottom, I have a link to the presentation that I'm using today. Okay, so these are some resources that I would want students to be able to access perpetually without having to go and look through the stream, which can become very, very lengthy to find those. So this About page is extremely helpful. Now when I click to add some materials, you notice I can attach a file that I might have on my desktop or in my spot on the server. I can attach from my Google Drive. I can throw in YouTube videos, or I can link to a website. So a lot of different things ways that I can provide those resources within that About. Okay, the most important part now is the classroom stream. This stream is similar to a newsfeed for the class. Any new items posted to the class are displayed on this stream, in this stream, for students. Now, the most recent addition to the stream is always added to the top of the stream, and everything else is bumped down. Okay, and so you see I have a number of items here. If I go down to the very bottom, you can see my very first entry into the stream. It was and I like to number them so that we don't get confused. So I numbered this 001, welcome to our class, do your happy dance, with the little YouTube video of Snoopy doing the happy dance. Okay, just for fun. Okay. Number 2, I say, please tell us a little bit about yourself. This is a conversation, a question that I attached. In fact, I'm going to go and stop the recording for a minute and ask each of you inside of Google Classroom to go and answer number 2. This will be our first interactive. I know we're 25 minutes into the presentation, but go and take a minute to tell us a little bit about yourself, what school you teach at, the content or grade that you teach, and what you hope to learn about Google Classroom today. I know it's a little late for an intro question, but we're going to go ahead and do it anyway. And I'll quit the app share while you do that. Okay. Now, one of the things that you're able to do in Google Classroom is to bump items to the top. Maybe there's something that you posted earlier on in the year, or even earlier on the week, that's kind of got lost in the stream and you want to move it back to the top. If you click on the 3 dots and click on Move to Top, it will bump that item up to the top of your stream. So that's really useful for you. Yes, all the dates say June 7th because that's when I put together this Google Classroom. Now, the stream view also gives you some additional information that's not shown to the students. For example, it can show you saved posts or deleted items that other people can't see. When you're into the students tab, it'll show you the class code that the students can't see. So as the teacher view, you have a lot more information than the student view does. The teacher view of the stream also shows an option for the teacher to show deleted items. If I slide this slider over to the right, I can see some deleted items, and I see that there's a formative assessment sample that I posted in this, and then I pulled it back out and I deleted it. So you can see those deleted items. Again, students can't see them. If you deleted something more than 30 days ago, then you can't see it, and it is gone. We have some people asking to see the join code again. I'll go ahead and post it in the chat box so you can see it. Okay, now I'm going to hide those deleted items because we really don't need to see them right now. Okay, again, in the students tab, I see the class code where the students would not see it. All right, so what can I do in the stream? As I click on the plus sign in the lower right hand corner, I see all of my choices. And the first choice is to create an announcement. So you click on create an announcement, and I'm going to make this one happy 115-degree day and put a frowny face because it's really not that happy. Okay, and I can make this an announcement. I can give it a topic if I wanted to. It's not really important. I can attach a file. I can attach a document from my Google Drive, a YouTube video, or a link to a web page, and I can post that. Now, one of the neat things here about Google Classroom is that you don't have to post everything live. I can post it right now. I can save a draft of it to work on later, or I can schedule my post for a later time or date. So maybe I wanted to post this tomorrow at 12:01 a.m. for some reason. I wanted to come in, just after midnight tomorrow morning. I can schedule that post. This is great because you can work on, putting together assignments or announcements or whatever it might be, and you can schedule them in advance so that they will hit the student's stream at that opportune time, that important time when they need to see it. Okay, so you can use an announcement to pass on a message to the class. That might be anything from announcing a quiz or a test, announcing a field trip or school event reminder, or it can simply be the happy 115-degree day message to your students, whatever it might be. Okay, so those announcements are really key for communicating with your students. I'm not going to post that one. So again, you'll click on the plus sign and create an announcement, and that's how we work with announcements. Second thing, creating an assignment. Again, I hover over the plus sign and I create an assignment. Now I'm going to make that assignment. Let's see. I'm thinking about a random topic. I'm going to make this one, what is your greatest fear? And I'm going to give instructions. Please write a 1-paragraph, if I could spell, composition that details your greatest fear and why you are so afraid of that person, object, or thing. I want to give it a due date. I'm going to make that Friday at 11:59 p.m. I don't need a topic on it. I could create a topic. I can add, again, a link, a file, a YouTube video, or a file from my Google Drive, and I can assign that right now, or I can schedule it. Now I'm going to give this a number because I do like to number my items, and I don't remember where I would left off with my numbering. I would go back and look if I was doing this for real in my classroom, and I'm going to assign that, and it will pop up at the very top of my stream and the top of your stream. Now I don't want you guys to work on it. I'm just giving you an example of how to create an assignment. Okay, now that assignment is something that can be submitted. Now if I click on this assignment, I click, we have 8 people in our Google Class right now. I can work in this assignment. I can look at the instructions, and I can go back and edit the instructions if I want, and I can also look at the student work. Now I see that none of you have done it yet, obviously, and nor do you need to. I can make it an ungraded assignment with no point value, or I can change the point value. Maybe I want this to be only worth 5 points, and so I'm going to update the point value. Then as people submit, I can click on their names and see their submissions and give them a grade. Maybe I have a student that answered the question on paper, and they felt more comfortable doing it on paper, so they turned in the paper assignment. And so maybe it was Matthew, and I can go and give him a score, even though he's not submitted in Google Classroom. So you can, they don't have to type it in there necessarily if you want to. If you work in an environment where some students are going to do it in Google Classroom, some students are going to do it on paper, you have that option. And so you can do that. And so I'm going to give everyone grades here, even though nobody's turned it in. Wow, I can give more than the value of points that are available too. Oh, this TLC student really didn't do a good job. Okay, so I'll give everyone their score. And now you notice it says not returned. So I put the scores in there, but the students don't see them yet. The students will not actually see their scores until I click on this return button in the upper left-hand corner. And now when I click on that, it's asking me, return unsubmitted assignments. Are you sure, Mark, that you really want to send back these assignments that people didn't submit and tell them that they got a grade on it when they haven't turned it in? So it double checks to make sure that I'm not making a mistake before I submit it. And I say, yes, return them. I want to give these people all scores. It's asking me again to make sure that I'm doing this correctly. And I'm going to go ahead and return your scores. And you can now, in Google Classroom, see what you scored on each of those assignments. So it really makes the workflow very, very efficient. And so now I can see that 0 are done, 0 are not done, and all 8 are returned for the people that are in there in the class right now. Okay, so that's how you work with assignments. Creating a question. This is probably one of my favorite things to do with Google Classroom, is to create discussion questions for the class to work on all together. Okay, questions are a great way to do a daily warm-up. It's a great way to as an exit ticket, or you can have students do an online discussion with each other. We're having an issue with the class code. Let me put that class code in again for Lori. Try that code, Lori, and see if you can get in. Okay, so that exit ticket, the daily warm-up, an online discussion, and student commenting can be enabled on the student page of Google Classroom. So I'm going to look at my students here. I won't pick on Matthew because I don't know Matthew. I'll pick on Heather because I know Heather. Okay, if I click on Heather, maybe Heather is having a hard time making sure that her posts are all appropriate, and she's posting stuff to the classroom that is not. Yes, Heather, thank you for the smiley faces. She's posting things to the classroom that she shouldn't be. If I select her name there, I can go to Actions and mute Heather. And what this means is, as you can see in the pop-up, that Heather can submit work, but other students can't see it. She is unable to reply to classmates' work, and she's unable to comment or post. And so if you have a group of students that maybe you're not sure about their ability to display proper netiquette or online etiquette, that you can maybe start them off all muted, and then give them more and more freedom as they show that they're able to handle it. Okay, so that's a key feature if that's one of your concerns. Okay, and so I'm not going to actually mute Heather. Now, one of the other neat things here that is new, and I know I've kind of got distracted, is a squirrel that's taken me a different direction than I was going. So I'll come back to creating the question in a moment. But just because I thought of it, you have the chance to invite guardians. This feature came out in Google Classroom around January. That if I click on somebody's name here, I can type in their parents' email address. I can add multiple parents. Maybe there's multiple homes, or multiple parents want an email address. So I'll put in a separate email address, and I can add as many as I want and invite the parents. Now that gives the parents the rights to see what their student is posting online. It gives them the right to see what the teachers have posted, but it does not give them the right to see other students' work. And so it's a great tool for parents. If you invite parents, get their email addresses and invite them, then they can have access to see what their child is doing in Google Classroom. Okay, so there's my little my squirrel to chase. Getting back to the stream and creating a question. I want to create a question for this daily warm-up. And this is what I had you guys complete initially when I asked you for information about yourself. So I'm going to type in the question, what is your favorite part of summer vacation? And I'm going to say to keep it clean, give it a due date if I want to, give it a topic if I want to. Now I have several choices here. My choices are, it can be short answer or multiple choice. So I can put my choices in there, and I can use it as a poll tool within the classroom if I want to use the multiple choice. If I want to use the short answer, then it gives students have the opportunity to respond without any type of limitation. Okay, so I can turn on or off whether students can see the class summary or not, and I can ask that question. Okay, and so you see my poll. In fact, Gordon, right now, if you'll take a moment and answer the poll, what is your favorite part of summer vacation? Just for fun, within your Google Classroom, go ahead and do that. And I will pause this for a moment while you do that. Okay, so I see the 5 of you have done it. Jennifer says hooray for sleeping past 5:30. If I click on my question here, I can see that 4 of you said sleep, 2 people said sleep more, and nobody so far said enjoy 115 degrees. Notice I can make a question worth points if I want to, and I can get scored if I like. It's not really necessary for what we're doing right now, but theoretically you could do that for an assignment. Okay. Laura needs an extra option for those who are coaching in the 115 degrees. Wow, bless you, Laura. No, I could have given more choices had I given the question more thought. Okay, so you can do that. Now, as well, when you're creating a question, if you create, I'm just going to mess around here. I'm going to make this as a short answer. Here I have the option for students to be able to reply to each other and that they can edit their answer. Okay, so maybe I want students to be able to reply to each other. If I have that on, students can reply after they see the other answers. The answers that after they've submitted a first answer, then they can see the other students in the class, the answers that they've given, and they can have that threaded discussion, which is really good. And sometimes students want to edit their answer, so I can ask that question, and you see how that would work. Don't reply to that right now. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and delete it. I just wanted to give you that option so you can see how to create that question. Now, the final thing within the stream that I want to show you right now is to reuse a post. And this is a great tool because sometimes you had great posts that you've done in previous classes or even within that same class that you want to use. So if I want to select a post, when I want to reuse a post, I get to select which class I've used in the past, and I can do it from my archived classes or my current classes. And so I can take one of my classes and take a post that either I created, or maybe if I had multiple teachers in the class that they created, and I can post that old previous post that I've used before, and I can make some edits to it if I like, and I can post it to my class and reuse it. And that's a great thing that you can do. So you don't have to go back and recreate something every time. As well, if you can create it in one class, maybe you're teaching secondary, I taught high school English, I could create it for one class and then reuse it in all of my classes, and that makes it a lot easier. It's very much a time saver. Now there's one thing that I didn't show you in the assignments and the announcements, and this is also a very new feature in Google. I'm going to go ahead and create an assignment. This is important because it allows us to really differentiate our instruction. I'm going to make this assignment essay number 1. I'm going to type in some instructions. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Now notice up here where it says 4, I can create an assignment and post it to as many classes as I want at one time. And if I choose multiple classes, notice that next to it, it says all students. And so I can submit something to multiple classes for all students. Or if I only have one class selected, I can select which students I want it to go to. So initially all students are checked. I can uncheck all students and just create an assignment for some students that I want to target with a particular skill. Maybe I've done my formative assessments. I know where my students are at and what skills they need to work on. I can create the same assignment that really looks the same. I can give it the exact same title for all of my students, but have them broken up into skill level groups, differentiated groups, or even interest groups, and give them each something that's slightly different, with different directions, a different rubric for grading possibly. But it makes it so they really don't know that the instruction is being differentiated, but you do. And it's a great tool that I'm, like I said, it came back out around January, and I was so excited to see this because it does make it so that you can differentiate. You can do it with assignments. You can do it with the announcements. You don't have to target all students. You can send an announcement through Google Classroom just to one student if you want. Same thing with the question. You can send it just to the students that you want to send it to. It'll tell me here that I have selected 3 students. Okay, so that's a great tool. It's really, really powerful for you. I've talked about the notifications. I've talked about the workflow, some of those new features, the workflow for returning work. Again, that also came out back in January when it had some major updates to Google Classroom. Lori asks, would their guardians be able to see that message or announcement also? Yes, anything you post to a student, their parents or guardians are able to see. But they can't see stuff that's posted just to other students and not their child as well. Let me zip through some of these things. I want to show you what the student view looks like. Okay, now I pulled this out of a previous classroom that I was in with a couple of our digital coaches. The student view, and that's what you were able to see in your view of my class, but they'll be able to see their class and their teacher names. Back up a little bit. I didn't show you that. In the About section, and I know it's kind of a squirrel walk as I'm jumping back and forth, you can add a teacher. Okay, notice that up here it's me and Paul as the teachers. If I click on Invite Teachers, I can type in a name or an email. I know Heather's in our webinar, so I'm going to invite Heather to be a teacher in this. You see up top at the top now that Heather's been invited. She has to go in and accept that invitation, and then it will make it so that she's not kind of grayed out like we are, but we'll give her full rights in the classroom. And the teacher can then do anything with, edit assignments, delete assignments. That the co-teachers can do anything except for delete the class. Now you see Heather's gone into full color. Thank you for accepting, Heather. So you can have co-teachers if you are in a co-teaching situation. It's not just you doing the Google Classroom on your own. All of your co-teachers can be in that class. Heather said in the text chat, it was easy. I got a notification with a smiley face. So she received an email notification telling her that she's been invited, and she just had to click on accept. Okay. So going back to the student view. Okay. So the students will see the stream, the classmates and about. See the class and the teachers' names. They'll see the folders in the about section, just like I talked about. Again, tell your students as they're going into that not to, in Google Drive, to leave that Google Classroom folder alone. That's the one folder that they don't want to touch. And that they can see their materials and resources. Finally, we see that they're able to click on adding comments. They can make comments private just to you as the teacher. They can send comments to the entire class, and they can add files as they're with assignments. When they click on turn in, they can click on add to add files to turn in. They can click on create to create files in their Google Drive. And if there's been a template, you can create. In fact, let me do that. You can create files with a template in Google Drive, and then they'll simply respond to the assignment that way. And we see that example here in assignment number 5, using Google with students. It's an assignment that I created with a template. And the directions say to complete the attached assignment and turn in. So you open up the template and you can type into that, and then you just submit that assignment. Okay, so you can actually create a template that the students each use. And let me show you how you can do that. So I'll create the assignment. I'm going to use a file from my Google Drive. I'll pick that same one. And now I have this option here with students can view file. If I click the drop down, I can make a copy for each student. So that way each student will be able to work in their copy and not make any modifications to everybody else. If I say that students can edit a file, then all the students are working together in the exact same file, so they'll be working over each other. Now that would work great if you're giving it to just a few students and you wanted them to work as a group in a collaborative assignment. But if you're giving it to a class of 49, like my largest class was, I wouldn't want 49 sophomores working on the same assignment at the exact same time in the exact same file. That would be really clunky, and really students would get in each other's way. So it's really great that you can make a copy for each student and you can assign it that way. Okay, I know I went through a lot of material really fast. Paul, is there anything you want to add right now, and we can take some questions?
Yeah, there's just a quick thing that I wanted to add. Whenever I'm doing a Google related training, I like to point it out. I see it's in the right corner of your screen. If you look at Mark's screen, he's got a big question mark with a color wheel on it. You probably don't have that on your end, but that is a training app for Google. If you do a quick Google search for G Suite training app, you'll be able to download it, real easy to install. So if you have any questions in the future and you need a quick answer, you don't have time to reach out to somebody, Mark's clicking on it right now. If you could just drop it down, we can take a look at it. Cool thing is, we have all sorts of different help topics, and once you install this to your browser, it sticks with Classroom, but it also sticks with some of the other Google-related apps as well, like Docs and Sheets.
Thank you, Paul. I always forget about that, the training wheel. I don't, use it very often, so I don't think about it. And is it I don't remember, Paul, remind me, is that an extension that you add?
Yep, it's an extension, and once again, it's really easy to install. You just do a quick search for G Suite Training app. It'll be the first thing that comes up. Mark's going to show you right now.
Okay, so I do a
And
Google search for G Suite Training. It takes me to the web store.
And since Mark already has it installed, it says added to Chrome. But if you don't have it installed, it'll be a blue box instead of a green one. I'll ask you to install. It's a really easy process.
Great tip, Paul. And again, that does work with all G Suite apps, not just Classroom.
One of my favorite things about using it with Classroom is that there is a student section as well. So the tutorials change based on whether you're a student or a teacher. Maybe you have that one student that comes in because we do have heavy transiency out here. And you need to give them a quick crash course of what Classroom is. There's a Classroom 101 for teachers. There's a Classroom 101 for students, all within that app. You could also search it for whatever questions you have. Like maybe you forgot how to make a copy for every student. You can do a quick search for that. It'll help you out.
Thank you very much. We have about a minute or two for any questions, and then I'm going to have you take the eval. The eval is in the Google Classroom. If you look at it, I've moved it up to the top. It's the newest post. It says Summer 2017 Technology Webinar Evaluation Survey. Please take a minute, whether you're viewing it this live or in the playback, fill out the survey. Again, Paul and I are both available to provide any assistance that you need. I'm more than willing to come out to schools and to work with you individually and in small groups to provide any assistance that you need with being able to effectively integrate technology. We can talk about Google Classroom, talk about the G Suite tools, and everything else along those lines. Jen is asking about how she could use this to help with Socratic seminars. That's a great question, Jen. One of the things that's, whenever you're having a group conversation, and I think it really applies with Socratic seminars, the students that you're standing, as you have them in, now I used to do Socratic seminars in small groups. Jen, are you having them doing them small groups or whole class? Whole class, okay. So with Socratic seminars, you have to try, I'm sure that you have some procedures in place in your classroom to make sure that each student participates. I don't know if you have, the cards, and everyone has to set down their yellow card or the green card, whatever it is that they have to set down to show that they've commented. But anytime you have a whole a class discussion, it's really easy for a couple of the more talkative students, more loquacious students to steal the limelight and do a lot of the talking, and those people who are more reticent will sit back and not respond as much. Now, if you in Google Classroom, you can post a question and even post a rubric with it for questions and responses, and have them participate in this threaded discussion that they have to respond to each other and so forth, and that way you're forcing the students really to participate, and as well those students who are more shy and don't like to speak out in front of their peers. Sometimes it's a lot easier for them to participate digitally, and that they'll those students that you might have had a really hard time getting participation from before will sometimes really surprise you with the insights that they have that they would have never shared in a face-to-face environment. Okay, so that's a great feature of Google Classroom, is it gives those students a voice and allows them to shine in a forum that they're much more comfortable in. Importing grades, shuffling the assignments. You can export the grades out of Google Classroom, and you can actually export it as a spreadsheet in a CSV file or into your Google Sheets, and then you can just sort them by student is the best way. The final tool that I want to show you today in relation to Google Classroom, and this is a great tool because it has some phenomenal integrations with Google Classroom, and that is Edpuzzle. And so it is a separate website. So if you go to edpuzzle.com, again, that's edpuzzle.com,
it will integrate with Google Classroom. And so I'm going to go ahead and log in, tell Edpuzzle that I'm a teacher, and then choose to log in with my Google account. And it will ask me to choose an account, and I'm going to choose my NVCCSD account, and it logs in. And yours, when you log in, you won't have any classes on the side here. I have classes here because I've already I've used this a number of times. Okay, and so I'm going to choose a class that applies to what we're doing right now, our Blend Ed webinars, and that's how you're viewing this. Okay, but then you can use Edpuzzle. Edpuzzle is the tool that you have used today as you've seen my webinar stop and ask you questions in the recording. And so you can do that with your students. If you can assign a video and have it stop and ask questions throughout the video, and not allow students to fast forward through the video or anything like that, just like I'm not allowing you to do that. And that way you can give them the content. So I'm going to go ahead and click on search now right here, because I want to search for some content, and I can look at these resources can come from Edpuzzle, YouTube, Khan Academy, National Geographic, TED Talks, Veritasium, I've never used that before, or Numberphile, or Crash Course. So you can pull these videos from quite a few different places. And so you search for, I like to just, you can search for using all of them. I'm going to just search for, let's see, I'm trying to think of fractions. I'll do a lesson on fractions because I don't know anything about math. I'm going to select something on fractions. I see lots of videos here on Edpuzzle. Maybe I want something from YouTube though. I'm going to look at YouTube or Khan Academy and look for fractions. Grab a video. Notice that they're all pretty short here. The longest one that I see on this page is 6 minutes and 38 seconds so far. So we want to keep our videos short, unlike what I'm doing. So I'm not trying to model how to choose a video. And so I'll look at the video. I can definitely will want to watch it and make sure it has the content that I want. And once I've chosen a video, I'm going to click on use it. I don't want to copy it, I want to use it. So I'm going to use this video. Now it brings me to a page where I can edit it, and there's a couple of things I can do to edit. Notice that I have the scissors, the crop tool is selected, it's what's highlighted, the other ones are grayed out. So right now I get to choose, and I might want to, after I've watched the video, I might decide that the first 32 seconds don't have any content that I want, and maybe there's some on the end that doesn't have what I want, so I want to crop it. Now I can't crop out of the middle, I can only crop the front and back end of the video, and that gets rid of, sometimes the videos have some non-essential introduction or closing material that you don't want to have students necessarily watch, and so you can get rid of that. Okay, so I'm done cropping. I've chosen more strategically than what I just showed you where I want to crop it. The second tool here, and if I click on it, it highlights in blue, is the audio track. I say that you don't want to use this, because what you're doing with the audio track is you are replacing the entire audio track for the full video with you going through and narrating it. So maybe there's great video, but you don't quite like the instructor's voice. If it's like mine, you find my voice annoying. You say, hey, Mark has some great material. I'm going to use his images and his video, but I can't stand his voice, so I'm going to narrate over it. If you're that ambitious, bless you, go for it. But I don't know that I would ever, replace the entire audio track for an entire video. So I'm going to skip by that one and not do anything. Audio notes. Okay, you can have the video pause, and notice I can place, if I scroll it by grabbing this microphone on the bottom, I can scroll it to where I want. Then if I click on it, I'm going to allow it to use my microphone, and now you notice the box is going up and down, up and down. There's the line of the box going up and down. That's because it's recording my voice right now. And so if I want to have a video pause and I want to record a note inside the video, I can record that. So now I have a note at that time. I can do that any number of times. It's recording me again. Woohoo. And I can do that throughout the video because there's something that I think I really want to draw my students' attention to, and so I'll record it as I go. Okay. And this is the most important part, this quizzes feature, and you've seen me use this in our webinar today. It's uploading my voice from those the two voice recordings I just did. Now I can put the quiz questions. So I'm going to, maybe I want a question at 36 seconds. I click on the question mark and I get to choose my question. I can have an open-ended question. What is the hardest thing about fractions? and there's an open-ended question that I can use, and the video will pause there and give them open-ended question.
Cheese.
Now I'm going to have another question. Maybe I want a multiple choice question this time. What is the correct answer to this problem? And I put in, obviously I'm not going to put in decimals because I'm working on fractions here, but I'm just putting some random answers here. And I can select the correct answer. Notice I can select multiple correct answers if I want. I select, add as many answers as I want and select it. I click on Save at the bottom, and I've added that question.
Banana.
And I can add just a comment. I can put a picture in there. I can put a link in there. I can use some equations with the equation editor. There's a lot of things that I can do as I'm creating these questions, and you've seen that modeled a little bit in our video today, but I think it's really important that, and Edpuzzle is a phenomenal tool for having the interactive video. Thank you for attending our Google Classroom webinar and for viewing it. This is the first video that we've posted actually in Classroom for our webinars on demand. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Again, my name is Mark Oakton. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me for support with using and integrating technology in the classroom. I'd love to help you come out and work with a group of your teachers at your school. You can reach me on Interact. You can reach me on our NVCCSD email because Interact is going away. A little round of applause for that. Again, I want to support you. I want to help you to effectively use technology as you work to engage and improve your student learning. Thank you, and have a wonderful remainder of your day.